My sister was carrying our baby as a surrogate, but my husband fell in love with her, so I taught them a lesson that brought their lives crashing down. My husband, a 33-year-old male, and I, a 30-year-old female, had been struggling with conceiving, even though we'd been trying for almost a year. We'd been married for 5 years, but still didn't have a child, despite trying for a long time and consulting many doctors. We were just incompatible. A year and a half ago, we decided to opt for surrogacy, as we had no other options left. My sister, a 28-year-old female, stepped up to be the surrogate because she needed the money. My sister and I were close, and I thought it would be for the best, so I agreed to let her carry our baby, not knowing how that decision would backfire. The process was successful, and things had been really good for the past 9 months. My sister moved in to live with us and stayed in the guest room. 3 days ago, I came home early because I wanted to surprise my sister with chicken soup from a restaurant far away that she'd been craving for a couple of days. I made no noise while entering the house, and when I opened the guest room door to surprise her, I found her in bed with my husband, giggling and cuddling. I don't remember what I said or did in the immediate aftermath. I just blanked out because of what I'd seen. I remember my husband jumping out in his boxers to explain that this was just a one-time thing and meant nothing. My sister just sat in bed, refusing to even look at me. It took me a few seconds to recover, but once I came to my senses, I walked out of the house, got into my car, and started driving. I had enough gas in my car to keep me going for a while until I tired myself out and checked into the nearest hotel I could find. Once I was in my room, I started crying and eventually cried myself to sleep. I had no idea what to do next and didn't even know what to do about the baby that was supposed to be born in a week. I was just so lost. That evening and the next morning, I did absolutely nothing apart from staring at the walls blankly. It was only a call from my mom that made me snap out of my daze. Neither my husband nor my sister had the guts to call me, but I guess my sister had told my mother to check on me, which she did. She hadn't told her the truth about what had happened, though. When my mom called to ask about my whereabouts, I told her what I'd seen, and she was just as shocked as I'd been. She tried to console me, but I ended up crying on the phone yet again because saying it out loud for the first time made it so much more real. She was patient and understanding, let me cry myself out, and then told me what I needed to hear. At this point, I just had to cut my losses, file for divorce, and get full custody of the baby if that's what I wanted. I agreed. I could cry about this later, but I needed to get ahead legally if I wanted to keep my baby. Yesterday, I got in touch with my lawyer and explained the situation to her. It was really hard not to break down into tears while recounting what I'd seen, but I did it somehow. I also wanted my money back. Everything that I'd invested in my sister from the first day up until the last. I wanted every single dollar to be accounted for and really wanted to hurt her. I work at a high-paying position in a private company and easily make twice the amount that my husband and sister make combined. But it wasn't really about the money, it was about the principle of the thing, and I really wanted to hurt her. She's a dance instructor and doesn't make much, and neither does my husband, who's a freelance journalist. Both of them had been living off my money, and I was glad to spend it on them because I was under the impression that both of them loved me. But that's obviously not true. I spent around $200,000 in the past year itself, and I wanted all of it back. I didn't care where they'd get it from, but I just wanted it all back because of what they'd put me through. That, plus the divorce and custody battle, was going to cost me heavily, but I didn't care. I just wanted my money and my baby. So I told my lawyer to go ahead and file the petition. That was yesterday. Today I told my mother about what I planned to do, but surprisingly, she wasn't on board with it. She told me that even though what my sister had done was immoral, it was still wrong to sue her for money because she was still delivering my baby. Receiving a legal notice when you're just a couple of weeks away from giving birth can really mess you up. I guess she's not entirely wrong. I do want the baby to be happy and healthy, but I also want to get back at my husband and sister and teach them a lesson. My sister most certainly was not in breach of contract because it said nothing about cheating, so I wasn't even sure if I had grounds to sue her. Technically, she did fulfill whatever was required of her and carried the baby to term safely and successfully. I decided not to sue my sister because she's going to be giving birth in a few days, and I want my baby to be healthy, which means I'll have to ensure my sister is healthy as well and try not to stress her out. This is the only reason I'm not coming after her, for the sake of my baby and nothing else. I did file for divorce, though, and also for full custody of the child because I don't want them to have anything to do with the baby once he or she is born. I've been living in the hotel for a week now, and I've been talking to my mother so that I can keep myself updated on when my sister is going to give birth. She's still not in labor, so I'm guessing she's going to be late, which is fine by me. Right now, I'm only going to deal with my husband and make sure he suffers. I've already filed for divorce and full custody, and he's been served as well but hasn't spoken to me yet, which is okay. I don't care if he talks to me or not, but I do want my house back and $100,000 as compensation, which I'll make sure I get out of him by hook or by crook. I highly doubt he can even afford a decent lawyer without me, so his chances of getting out of paying me back are quite low. Anyway, he has until the end of this week to vacate my house and get the hell out of there, which I think is fair. I would also kick my sister out, but unfortunately, until the baby is born, I can do nothing. I've told my mom to try and talk to her and get her to move in with mom for a few days until the baby's born. So I'm hoping she takes up that offer, and I can finally move back to my own house because I'm getting pretty sick of living at this hotel in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Speaking of my sister, my lawyer had already told me that we can't sue her as a surrogate since she wasn't in breach of contract, but we definitely could sue her for being my husband's affair partner. So, after the baby is born, we might take that route, but even then we'll have to wait for a while. It's not like I can take the baby away the second she gives birth. She's the one who's going to be providing milk for the baby as long as it is required, and I just have no idea how I'm going to deal with all of this. It's already exhausting for me to work from home, then talk to my lawyer and build our case, and then talk to my mother regarding how my sister is doing, especially when I've started hating her so much. Then, I struggle to fall asleep for literally hours because of how worried I am. I occasionally find myself wishing I'd never even found out that my husband had been cheating on me with my sister because that would have saved me a lot of trouble and heartache, and I probably still would be blissfully unaware. I came back home today, finally. It was empty because my husband had left, and so had my sister. She'd moved in with mom for the time being so that she could be watched over and wouldn't end up being on her own whenever she went into labor. She still hasn't, even though it's been a week and a half past the due date. Her OBGYN says that it's nothing to worry about, but my mom's taking her for a checkup anyway. Her last checkup was almost 2 weeks ago, which was really concerning for all of us involved, but since we're in a really awful situation, our mother has very kindly stepped in to make sure that both her daughters are doing all right, even though my sister's a terrible person for what she did. My husband has also responded to the divorce petition and, thankfully, isn't contesting it, and neither does he want custody of the baby. But of course, he can't afford to pay me $100,000, so his lawyer wants to negotiate. I'm not open to it, obviously, because the amount that I quoted is non-negotiable. He can either pay me back in one go or in installments. I'm open to that. But pay me back he must. You can't just have fun with your wife's sister, who happens to be carrying the baby that you wanted to raise with your wife, and then refuse to take accountability when your wife decides to kick you out. Ever since we got married, he'd been living off my gratitude. My hands were tied when it came to my sister because of the baby, but I wasn't going to let him off the hook so easily. We still haven't spoken, neither on call nor on text, and absolutely not in person. But I don't know what's going on in his head right now. I'd like to find out. He hasn't even apologized for what he did, and neither has my sister. But it doesn't matter. I don't think it would have made much of a difference, even if they were sorry. It still wouldn't change what they'd done, and they couldn't undo the damage that they'd already caused. No matter what they said or did now, it wouldn't make me feel any better. I'm just trying to stay strong for when the baby comes because otherwise I have pretty much nothing going on for me at the moment. My marriage is over, I have no relationship with my sister anymore, and all my friends feel bad for me. This started off so well, but now it's nothing short of a nightmare. My sister went into labor. It's been about 4 hours, and there's still a while to go for the baby to be born. We're in the hospital right now, and I'm waiting outside the room. My mother called me when the contractions started, and within an hour, we were all on our way to the hospital. I didn't know if my husband was going to show up or not because we hadn't talked yet, but that was the last thing on my mind anyway. It was very awkward to see my sister in the flesh after almost 2.5 weeks, but I had to power through it. My mother was the one holding her hand and comforting her while I just tried my best not to break down. I know she was the one going through the physical pain, but this wasn't easy for me. Then, an hour ago, my husband finally showed up. I didn't know if he was here for the baby or my sister, but if he wasn't fighting for custody of the child, then he was definitely here for my sister. As soon as he entered the room, I left because I just couldn't stand to be in the same room as him at any cost. So I left the room, and I've been waiting outside since. This is a lot more emotionally draining than what I'd expected, and honestly, I don't know how to feel about any of this. All I want is for my baby to be born healthy. I don't even know what I'm going to do when she actually goes to the next stage of labor. According to the rules of the hospital, only one person is allowed to be in the room while my sister gives birth. I don't know who it's going to be. Under usual circumstances, it would have been me since I wanted to be the first one to hold the baby, but I don't know if I have it in me right now to be holding my sister's hand and encouraging her through childbirth, knowing that she'd been having an affair with my husband. I know my mother will be up for it, but I wanted to be there when the baby's born. I don't know whether my husband would want to be in the room or not. I'm sure that he would want to be there for my sister since it appears that they're interested in each other, and it isn't just a one-time thing like my husband had said. But I wouldn't want him to be in the room when my baby is born, and I'm even willing to fight him over it. It's just been 4 hours into labor, and we still have a long way to go right now, so my emotional state is probably only going to get worse here onwards. At least ranting here made it a little easier to process. Hello everyone. I'm here after almost 4 days. The baby was born at almost 2 in the morning 4 days ago, and was in perfect health. I have a son now. I decided to suck it up and be in the room during the birthing process because, after all, no matter what had happened in the past, this kid was mine. I was his mother, and even if not biologically, I was still going to be there for him in every other way. It was hard, but I managed to put my personal feelings aside and told my mom and husband that I'd be there for my sister in the room when she gave birth. My husband tried to argue, but I told him that since he was going to terminate his parental rights over the baby anyway, maybe he should just shut the hell up and leave us alone. His girlfriend was my sister, so I think I'd deal with the situation a lot better than he would. He couldn't argue with that, so he let me stay in the room. While it was awkward initially, we overcame that together for the sake of the baby. Honestly, I don't think my sister was in any condition to think about how bad things were between us and just accepted the emotional support, regardless of who it came from. I was the first person to hold my son, but then my sister held the baby for a while for the skin-to-skin contact. My husband didn't care about the baby, and was only bothered about my sister, so I guess for the past 9 months he'd only been interested in taking care of my sister and not the baby. He wanted to be a good boyfriend, not a good father. It was hurtful, but at least it was over. We didn't speak about the divorce at the hospital, but we're supposed to meet with a mediator for the settlement negotiations to commence in a few days. I don't know what's going to happen then, and I honestly don't feel like getting into a drawn-out legal battle right now. Currently, my son is living with me, and my mom's having the milk sent to my house, but I think I might switch to formula soon enough. I don't know if I'm going to sue my sister or not. To be very honest, I've been thinking about it, and it just doesn't seem worth it because now I have what I wanted, and she's the reason I have a son. I know she ruined my marriage, but honestly, she couldn't have ruined it if it was really that good. I don't want to use my son as an excuse, but honestly, I just want to spend all my time with him now. Revenge is the last thing on my mind right now, so I don't know. I might not go through with a lawsuit. My heart feels like a storm-tossed sea, waves of anger, sorrow, and confusion crashing against one another. I'm adrift, unsure of which path to take, my emotions a tangled knot I can't unravel. I've spoken with my lawyer, who stands ready to act on my decisions, but therein lies the crux of my struggle. I don't know what I want. Part of me yearns for my ex-husband and sister to feel the weight of their betrayal, to regret the pain they've caused me. Yet I refuse to let that desire consume the precious time I have with my son, my beacon in this chaos. The money they owe me, $50,000, would be a small victory, a tangible acknowledgement of their wrongs. But it's not essential. I've built a comfortable life, and while the funds would be welcome, they're not worth sacrificing my peace or my son's well-being. I'm simply not in a place to make clear choices. My mind is clouded, my spirit weary. It's been nearly a week since I've held my son close, and in that time, he's become my entire world. Every giggle, every sleepy sigh anchors me to what truly matters. I've decided to pause the legal battles, putting the settlement on hold. The divorce will proceed, but the question of money can wait. I've also chosen to step back from pursuing my sister for now. My son is my priority, and if that means foregoing the funds, I'll accept it. His needs outweigh any fleeting satisfaction I might gain from retribution. My focus is on creating a safe, loving space for him, a sanctuary untouched by the bitterness of the past. My mother has been a quiet pillar of support, visiting to lend a hand and share updates I didn't ask for. She mentioned that my sister has left her home and moved in with my ex-husband and his parents. The revelation stung, suggesting their affair began long before I suspected, perhaps even under the knowing eyes of my in-laws. It's hard to believe they'd welcome my sister so readily, given how long it took them to accept me. The thought that they might have been complicit in this betrayal cuts deep, but I've chosen to let it go. I've severed all ties with them, and with my sister, whose actions showed a callous disregard for our bond. My ex-husband, too, discarded 5 years of marriage without a second thought. They are two people who, in their selfishness, deserve each other's chaos. I want no part of it. My son is my refuge, my reason to rise each morning. I'm learning to let go of the anger, to focus on the love that fills my days with him. The pain of betrayal lingers, but it's fading, overshadowed by the joy of motherhood. I don't know what the future holds, whether I'll pursue the settlement or confront my sister, but, for now, I'm choosing to live for my son. He is my clarity, my purpose, and with him, I'll find my way through this storm. Those who hurt me was not made lightly, but it was necessary. My ex-husband and my sister, through their actions, proved themselves unworthy of the privilege of being part of our lives, mine and my son's. I fought to ensure they would have no visitation rights, not out of spite, but out of a fierce determination to protect my child from the chaos they brought into our world. Their betrayal, a wound that once cut deeply, has begun to heal, not because time erases pain, but because I've chosen to release its hold on me. I don't need grand gestures of revenge. Knowing they're grappling with the consequences of their choices is satisfaction enough. My focus now is on building a life filled with love and stability for my son, and I refuse to let the shadows of the past dim our light. The journey to this point has been arduous. Divorce is never a simple untangling of lives. It's a storm that upends everything you thought you knew. I walked away from my marriage with less than I'd hoped for financially, $50,000 instead of the $100,000 I'd sought. But that sum represents more than money. It's a symbol of my resolve, a testament to the fact that I stood my ground and emerged stronger. My ex-husband, I've heard through mutual acquaintances, is struggling. He's still living with his parents, caught in a web of tension with my sister, his girlfriend, who seems to clash with them at every turn. She's been pressuring him to find a new place, but his financial burdens, legal fees and the settlement he paid me, have left him tethered to his circumstances. My sister, too, is adrift, having quit her job to become a surrogate and choosing to rely on him rather than forge her own path. Their struggles are not my burden to carry, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't find a quiet sense of justice in their predicament. They chose to hurt me, and now life is teaching them the weight of those choices. In contrast, my life has taken on a rhythm of purpose and joy. My son is a daily reminder of what truly matters. Spending time with him, watching him discover the world, hearing his giggles, feeling his warmth as he nestles against me, is more fulfilling than any night out with friends ever could be. I know it might sound unconventional to say I'd rather be with my 8-month-old than socializing, but it's the truth. He's my best companion, my greatest teacher, and my constant source of wonder. Every milestone he reaches, every new sound or expression, feels like a gift I never knew I needed. Being a mother has redefined my priorities, and I'm grateful for the clarity it's brought. Professionally, I'm thriving. My job allows me the flexibility to balance work-from-home days with time in the office, a blessing that lets me maximize my moments with my son. When my maternity leave ended, the transition back to work was daunting. The demands of my career and the needs of my son felt like a delicate tightrope walk. I hired a nanny to help when I'm away, and my mother has been a rock, stepping in with love and care that give me peace of mind. As a new project looms on the horizon, one that promises late nights and increased responsibility, I'm preparing myself and my son for the shift. Getting him accustomed to falling asleep without me is a challenge that tugs at my heart, but it's a necessary step. I want him to feel secure, even when I'm not by his side, and I'm learning to trust that our bond is strong enough to weather these changes. Therapy has been a cornerstone of my healing. The past year brought wounds I couldn't ignore: betrayal, loss, and the unraveling of relationships I once held dear. I knew I couldn't afford to let those wounds fester, not when my son depends on me to be whole and present. Therapy has given me tools to process the pain, to untangle the knots of anger and sadness, and to rediscover my resilience. It's taught me that healing isn't linear, it's a journey of small victories and quiet revelations. I've also learned that I'm not alone, even when I feel like I am. My mother's unwavering support, my friends' encouragement, and the outpouring of kindness from those who've read my story have reminded me of the strength in community. Your messages, your words of support, they've touched me deeply, and I'm grateful for every one of them. They've been a lifeline, a reminder that there's goodness in the world, even when it feels overshadowed. As I look ahead, I'm filled with a cautious optimism. The road hasn't been easy, but it's led me to a place where I feel stronger, more grounded, and more certain of who I am. I'm no longer the wife who tried to hold a crumbling marriage together, or the sister who hoped for loyalty that never came. I'm a mother, a woman carving out a life of purpose and love. In 6 months, the final threads of my marriage will dissolve, and I'll step fully into this new chapter. My son and I will build a future together, one filled with laughter, learning, and the kind of love that nothing can break. I'm ready to let go of the past, to stop glancing over my shoulder at what was, and to embrace what is, a life where we thrive, together. Thank you, truly, for the support you've shown me. It's carried me further than you know.